Well, Secretary of State Antony Blinken condemning Russia's detention of a Wall Street Journal reporter on alleged espionage charges. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy calling on Russia to release the reporter and suggesting President Biden's prisoner swap to rescue WNBA star Brittany Griner may have emboldened Putin. McCarthy telling Fox Digital, quote, when the president pays ransom, they'll go after and they will take more Americans. I want to bring in retired two-star Marine Corps General, the Panaro Group CEO and author of the ever-shrinking fighting force, General Arnold Punaro. General, good morning.
Cheryl, a privilege to be with you this morning.
Did we just embolden Vladimir Putin to go after more Americans?
Cheryl, before we get to these pressing national security issues of the day, I want to remind everybody of the sacrifices that our brave men and women in the military make every day. The tragic accident of the soldiers of the 101st Airborne that died in a nighttime training exercise, reminding us they have to be ready 24/7. We live in a very dangerous world. Our military trains as we fight, and we owe them. They take care to protect our democratic way of life and freedoms, particularly that of a Wall Street Journal reporter that's been taken hostage as part of Putin's KGB playbook. This is a typical Russian move at this particular point. He wants to intimidate foreign journalists. He wants to ensure nobody knows what's going on inside Russia. The Wall Street Journal reporter is not a spy. He's a hostage. This is a tit-for-tat situation. Our intelligence agencies are prohibited from using journalists for any of their overseas operations.
Well, but Putin doesn't care about that, I'm sure. And he had written a very scathing piece about the Russian economy, and it was published on Tuesday. Do you think that this signals that there's more to come and that more Americans are going to be targeted by Vladimir Putin? And then also, I'm glad you brought up the Black Hawk accident. Obviously, that was heartbreaking for those military servicemen and women and their families. At the same time, you know, we are at this point, when it comes to Ukraine, likely going to be sending more military support to help the Ukrainians fight Russia. Do you agree with that plan? Do you think that President Biden is on the right path?
Look, we've got to basically keep the pedal to the metal in terms of supporting Ukraine. The risk of supporting them is far less than the risk if Putin was to succeed in Ukraine. It would embolden China. It would embolden Iran, North Korea. We need to basically do everything possible to allow the Ukrainians to succeed, continue to send them ammunition, continue to beef up their air defenses, and make sure we get them longer range capability so they can go after the Russian sanctuary. So, and again, back to the hostage taking, this is just right out of the KGB playbook.
No, it's very disconcerting. I want to bring up this new Fox News poll. This reveals that 51% of registered voters think China is the greatest threat to the U.S. That's compared to 30% who say Russia's the biggest threat. 8% call it North Korea. Your reaction?
Well, all of those countries are threats. We need to be concerned about each and every one of them. Obviously, China, I think that's a good thing that the American people are waking up to the threat. You know, there was a great book written about the Japanese surprise attack on Pearl Harbor called At Dawn We Slept, and that there were a lot of signals. We don't need any signals. China's very open about what they want to do economically, militarily, technologically, and diplomatically. We've got the new China Select Committee headed by Mike Gallagher and Raja Krishnamurthy, great members like Rob Whitman and Jim Banks and others, bringing all this out to a floor. So I think, Cheryl, it's a very good development that the American people are beginning to realize firsthand, because we've got to deal with this threat. We can't just sit on our hands and wring our hands.
Well,
we've got to take decisive action on the military side, the technological side, and the economic side.
But, General, you know, the critics of President Biden are pointing out that he doesn't seem to be very tough on China. Maria has pointed that out several times, that he refuses, for whatever reason, to not push back against Xi Jinping. And then you've got these 9 Chinese planes that just crossed the Taiwan Straits median line. That happened this morning. And you've got Taiwan's president set to leave New York for Guatemala today. But yesterday, here's what she said. She said China deliberately raises tensions, but Taiwan always responds cautiously and calmly. There is kind of a feeling now from her and from others in the intelligence community that China is pushing this button over Taiwan now. Do they think that President Biden is weak? Do they think that we're distracted with Russia and Ukraine?
I mean, China continues to do saber rattling. We need to send every signal that we're going to protect and defend the free and independent Taiwan. I think Speaker McCarthy's willingness to meet is a very positive signal. There's $14 billion of foreign military sales that Taiwan has already purchased that we need to get delivered to them. We need to give them offensive capability to deter China. Right. I was in the Senate, working in the Senate when we passed the Taiwan Relations Act, and we committed to defend them. Senator John Glenn, Senator Barry Goldwater, Senator Ted Stevens that had fought with Chiang Kai-shek and to maintain that independence. And so that's what we need to do. Xi Jinping understands force. He understands power. We've got to make sure that he knows that we are going to basically do everything in our power to maintain a free and independent Taiwan.
General, Joe Pinions on set with me.
Yeah, General, quickly, I know we got a break here, but you look at the Biden strategy, the Biden doctrine, it seems to be more about containment than projecting strength. You look at what happened with the Colonial Pipeline hack, you look at what happened with the JBS beef hack. It seems as if somehow they're always showing up a day late and many, many actions short. From your perspective, is there something that he should be doing now, particularly in light of this effective kidnapping of a reporter, that should actually be a stronger, more stringent message to Russia and to China?
Joe, you've hit the nail on the head. We live in a world where these autocrats, Putin, Xi Jinping, Iran, they understand force. They understand you've got to operate and be strong. You've got to take decisive action in advance for deterrence. Deterrence is what we want. We don't want to go to war. We want to deter war. And there are things we need to do in each and every one of those areas vis-a-vis North Korea, vis-a-vis Iran, that's on the verge of getting a nuclear weapon, certainly vis-a-vis China. And I think with Taiwan, giving them longer-range offensive capability, that if the Chinese were to make any move against Taiwan, you could threaten their financial and cultural center in Shanghai. So I'm a believer, as Ronald Reagan used to say, peace through strength. And so we need to basically, to maintain that peace, to deter war, we need to basically beef up the strength side of the equation.
One of our greatest presidents, General Arnold Punaro. Thank you, General. I appreciate the Ronald Reagan reference. He knew what he was doing. Thank you, sir.